portrait of a tragedy that should never have happened. The bus was in perfect running order. The weather was fine. The roadway well maintained. And the driver was the most knowledgeable and skillful person you could hope to find. But everything changed that day in May because of the attitude factor.
Middle name of Lewis, L-O-U-I-S, MM 41254.
Here it is. This year's all-around best driver award goes to Barbara Blackstone.
Portrait of the driver on a happier occasion. Her name is Barbara Blackstone, an experienced veteran of 9 years behind the wheel and a popular choice for the award she received on that exciting night almost a year ago.
Oh, wow. I don't know what to say.
Well, you can give it back.
Oh, no. I don't deserve this, but I'm sure not going to give it back.
An award for driving excellence. Quite an honor in the school bus driving profession. It means outstanding knowledge and skill. And underlying both knowledge and skill, a good positive attitude toward everything connected with the job. An attitude that helps make driving both efficient and safe.
You know, in Hollywood, right, they're always thanking everyone for helping them to get an award. So I'd like to thank our dispatcher, our supervisor, all the drivers, and for sure the whole maintenance department, right?
But while knowledge and skills once gained are seldom lost or forgotten, attitudes can be changeable things, having to do with new experiences and their accompanying emotions. And as Barbara Blackstone will discover later, driver attitudes can be the human factor with a fatal flaw.
So, like I said, I don't deserve this, but thanks anyway.
No one knows how or when attitudes are formed in the brain. But somewhere within its 12 billion cells, some new stimuli trigger reactions which help develop mental sets which shape our personalities, influence our behavior, and direct our responses. For Barbara Blackstone, an experienced and specially conscientious driver of special education students, some new mental sets probably began to develop the day that Alice Crandall's mother was first angry with her for being a few minutes late.
Now, look, you're supposed to be running a bus service. And in my book, that means being on time.
Oh, gee, I'm sorry, Mrs.
Look, I
Crandall,
can't stand out here waiting for you every morning, and neither can Alice.
Wait, one of the other kids was late, and I got slowed down a bit.
This isn't the first time this has happened, Barbara, and you know it. Now, once more, and I'm going to call your boss.
Well, like I said, Mrs. Crandall, I'm sorry.
Well, it just seems to me that for a bus driver, you have a mighty selfish attitude, that's all.
Attitude. The word crops up again and again in the bus driving profession, where attitudes are often simply described as good or bad, positive or negative. Perhaps not definitions to satisfy a psychologist or behavioral scientist, but well understood by drivers and their supervisors.
Driver attitudes are important because as the driver goes about their daily duties, they're going to have contact with a wide variety of people. Parents, teachers, policemen on the corner, construction workers. And it's important as they talk with those people that they have that positive approach, carry across to those people the need for their particular profession, to have that safety of this child on board the bus, while at the same time being understanding of the needs of those people that they're having contact with. So it's important that they convey the message that safety is paramount, but at the same time they must be understanding of those people that they have contact with.
For drivers, different attitudes can form around the passengers.
Kids, they're really out to get you, man. You give them half a chance and they will get you, too.
Oh, I don't know. Kids are okay. Some are better than others, but I like working with them.
And different attitudes can form around teachers.
Teachers treat you like dirt. Know what I mean? And for sure, they blame you if anything goes wrong.
Teachers are mostly okay. They get their problems, too.
And different attitudes can form around parents.
What I tell parents is, I'm a bus driver, not a wet nurse.
A lot of parents have a really tough row to hoe. They appreciate any help they can get.
And attitudes form around people like other drivers on the road.
I had this idiot out there that cut right in front of me this morning. Nobody seems to care that you're driving a school bus.
And for sure, different attitudes form around things like the driving job itself.
That bus they gave me this morning steers like a truck, and the clutch is bad. Not my fault if the kid's got a jerky ride.
Yeah, driving's a drag. I'm just doing it until something better comes along.
The way I feel, driving's a profession. I like it a lot.
Driver attitudes, good or bad, positive or negative, they can sure color driver responses to a lot of situations.
If you kids don't shut up right now, I'm going to close all the windows and turn up the heater.
Listen, when you're in the classroom, you're the boss. But when you're on my bus, I'm the boss.
How come I gotta go to a dump safety meeting? I've been driving for 12 years.
Listen, at home your kid may be a little angel, but on this bus he's nothing but a little jerk.
Bad attitudes create distracted drivers. It's as simple as that. And distracted drivers make driving blunders because their minds are concentrating on their problems instead of the requirements of the driving task. Driver attitudes, good or bad, positive or negative, they're one of the most important factors in the driving equation, as all supervisors know so well.
That's right. We seldom have complaints about our drivers' driving skills. It's the attitudes that we hear about.
That's because school bus drivers are so much more than just drivers. They have to understand the importance of the human relationships they have with their passengers, teachers, supervisors, parents, and in such relationships, the right attitude can make all the difference in the world.
For Barbara Blackstone, her attitude one day will make all the difference between life and death.
Sorry I'm a few minutes late, Mrs. Crandall. Hope you weren't worried. Not worried. Mad. Didn't you remember my telling you that Alice had a doctor's appointment this afternoon?
Oh, gee, I'm sorry, Mrs. Crandall, but it really wasn't my fault.
Now you're late, and Alice is late, and now I'm late. I hope you didn't think I was kidding when I said I was going to call your boss.
I don't think you kid much about anything, Mrs. Crandall.
And what is that supposed to mean?
Nothing. Nothing at all.
Now, don't push me too far, Barbara.
Don't worry, I won't. See you tomorrow. Parents.
Beginning of a slow burn. But what are some things that affect your driving attitude? Take a minute to talk about them if you want to.
Listen, you guys, I gotta go, so finish breakfast yourselves, huh? And wash the dishes. And Chuck, for Pete's sake, don't forget to pay that traffic ticket today.
Yeah, Mom.
But if you don't, you're gonna have to go to court. And Jerry, really try to get that grocery job, will you? I mean, we could sure use the dough.
Right, Mom.
Okay, see you guys tonight, huh?
Barbara, before you go, come here a minute, will you?
Yeah, Mom.
For Barbara Blackstone, some recent and serious family problems have complicated an already difficult home life, and things aren't altogether comfortable with her present salary and schedule, or altogether safe with her present distracted mind.
You jerk!
Come in and sit down a minute, will you, Barbara?
Sure.
Is everything okay?
Well, yeah. Why? Anything the matter?
Well, I've been getting some feedback from some people that made me wonder, that's all.
You mean people like Mrs. Crandall, that's who you mean, isn't it?
Well, yeah. She called this morning. What's going on?
Nothing I can't handle. She's just one of your standard overprotective parents.
Let's talk about it.
Later, Jim. Let me work it out my way first, okay?
Well, okay. But remember, I'm always here, and the door's always open.
Yeah. Thanks.
And Barbara,
Yeah?
work it out soon, okay?
Yeah. Okay.
And so, Barbara Blackstone, with a perfect chance to share a common problem, decides not to ask for help. It will prove to be a bad decision. No one who drives a school bus needs to be reminded that the job is tough and demanding, with no margin for error. And it's difficult enough to manage a bus in traffic without also having to manage its passengers, their parents, teachers, aides, coaches, chaperones, whose momentary needs always seem so urgent.
Come on, driver, where you been? We'll be late for the game.
Hey, Mrs. Erickson, Andy's laying matches.
Karen lost her permission slip, but she can go anyway, can't she?
Bus driver, gotta go to the bathroom.
I told David he could bring his dog along. Is it okay with you?
It's darn hard to keep a smile on your face and a good attitude all the time. There's just so many people you have to please.
Come on, driver.
And so, it's understandable that driver attitudes can change from good to bad and bad to good. But while bad driver attitudes are understandable, they're also undesirable and dangerous. So it's not surprising that both drivers and supervisors find bad attitudes so distressing.
The kind of bad driver attitudes I hear most about are those where the driver just fails to explain to the parent, the teacher, whomever it might be, the actions that were taking place just prior to that. They just come up, give the child and say, this guy was bad or this person was bad, shut the door and drive off. They never explain. They go back and they'll pull somebody out of a seat and bring them up to the front of the bus and say, sit down, shut up, and get back in the driver's seat and drive away. Or they'll fail to give a child the extra few seconds they need to pick up a piece of paper or pick up a book that they might have dropped. They'll just begin yelling at them, hurry up, run, get on this bus, that type of thing. It's those attitudes that are just poor.
Some of the teachers talk about driver attitudes, driving too fast down a road, belligerence to the students, being unfriendly to the teachers and the students.
Yes, we have many calls from principals even. And it's always a complaining about the driver. They've missed kids at a certain stop. But it's not always the driver. Usually it's the kids are hiding behind bushes or trying to get the driver into trouble. I'll tell the principal now, wait until I've talked with the driver, I'll be back with you and we'll get this straightened out.
You kids don't shut up right now. I'm going to turn up all the windows.
But before negative attitudes can be helped, they have to be recognized and admitted by the individuals having them. And that's one of the toughest jobs there is. But like a lot of physical problems, a negative attitude must be recognized before it can be helped. And one of the best ways to deal with a negative attitude is to talk about it with your supervisor.
Absolutely. We supervisors are in a position to do something about problems. Maybe change a route or a schedule or contact a principal. But for heaven's sakes, let's talk about it.
And you know, it's kind of hard to believe, but some drivers create their own negative attitudes by almost going out of their way to develop a conflict.
Listen, somebody back there threw this piece of paper, and if we don't find out who did it, we're going right back to school. You guys been playing around ever since school started, and I'm sick and tired of it. Who threw the piece of paper? Is anybody going to tell me who threw it, or we are going to go back to school?
Sure, everyone gets up on the wrong side of the bed from time to time, but yelling just to show who's boss or to let off steam doesn't really make many friends back there behind the driver's seat or on the schoolyard.
Hey, I'm not supposed to line up those kids. That's your job.
Listen, I get paid to drive this bus, not babysit everybody's kids.
Short, snappy answers to teachers or parents sometimes help justify their unfortunate attitudes toward bus drivers. Not just you personally, but all bus drivers.
Well, it's these drivers. They're not fair. For example, this one gal that drives for my daughter. She's just not fair at all. She makes me late for work, makes my daughter late for school. What's going on? I'm a citizen. I'm a taxpayer.
Not fair, of course, to judge all drivers by the behavior of one driver, but that's the way the real world often is. And back in the transportation office, the phones begin ringing.
Yes, Mrs. Thompson. Yeah, but Mrs. Thompson, you have to... Please, ma'am. Yes? Whatever the reasons for drivers' problems with parents or anybody, I'd rather hear it first from the drivers before I start getting angry phone calls. That way I can know the facts, and it's a lot easier for me to support a driver when I really know what happened. Yes, Mrs. Thompson. The thing is, I know my drivers one heck of a lot better than I know the parents or teachers or whoever. And if the driver's right and I have all the facts, I'll stand behind them 100% every time. But you have to understand...
Which lets us repeat a most important message. Before your problem reaches the boiling point, talk about it with your supervisor.
What's bothering you, Wilfred?
Elaine, I have one child on my bus that's giving me a big problem.
Well, just what is the problem?
He won't stay in the seat while the bus is moving. He's fighting with the kids, and it's really a big safety problem. I can't drive the bus safely anymore.
Well, tell me about it, Deb. I understand you had a problem with the team the other night.
I had the band bus following me. She didn't know the way to the game, and as I was going down Almaden, I made it through a light that the other driver didn't, and I slowed down to let her catch up, and the coach got very upset and wanted to know why I was slowing down, and I told him that the other bus did not make that last light, and I was going to let the other driver catch up. And he said he didn't care about any bus following us or anybody on it.
I'm listening, Al. How may I help you?
Well, Don, I got a complaint. I don't like the way the field trips are being assigned, the out-of-county field trips, that is. I don't feel that I'm getting my share of the field trips.
Were you sick any last week?
No,
you
I
see,
wasn't sick
it's
last
part of the supervisor's job to listen and to take some corrective action if a driver has a serious personal or professional problem. But for sure, it's part of the driver's job to let the supervisor know about the problem. No supervisor can be expected to guess what's wrong, which is one reason Barbara Blackstone is building up the kind of tensions that very shortly will make the newspapers. But what do you think? As drivers, what can be done about negative attitudes? Talk about them if you want to.
I know, Mrs. Crandall, but this time all the kids were late getting out of school. Look, you can call the principal if you don't believe me. Oh, I'll call the principal, all right. You better believe I will, but that's not all I'm going to do. My life doesn't turn around your life, and it's time you learned that. Look, I got personal problems of my own. You don't know what problems are. Crazy kids. They're using this street as a racetrack every hour of the day and night. And I've got a sick daughter. You want to know what problems are? You spend some time around here. Thanks, but no thanks. See you in the morning.
Countdown to tragedy, and the clock is ticking. You know, a really good bus operation depends so much on good morale. And good morale depends so much on good driver attitudes. So how about some workable attitude suggestions from drivers themselves? For starters, start the day positively.
Well, I think attitude has a lot to do with how you start the day. The kids get on the bus, I say good morning to all of them. A lot of them respond, some don't. But it gives most of them a positive attitude to the day. It gives me a positive attitude toward the day.
Everyone is different.
Every person's an individual. I like to think of them that way. They're not categorized. They're not just parents, just students. They're human beings, each one different from the next one.
Don't prejudge.
Other drivers, from time to time, will tell you that certain routes and teachers are not always the most enjoyable to have on the bus. I always wait until after I've taken the kids on the route or teachers to make up my own decision on my own mind.
Yes, that's right. Some tell me parents and teachers are selfish, but I like to make up my own mind.
Keep your sense of humor.
A sense of humor is a good thing to have on this job. There's a lot of children that you're dealing with day by day, and to be able to smile at the end of the day over the good and the bad things is something that you can really appreciate.
You get what you give.
It seems to me that people respond to you pretty much the way you come on to them. If you're hostile and upset, they're likely to be pretty much the same way towards you, but If you're friendly, it's likely they're going to be friendly toward you.
And finally, remember the day won't last forever.
And even on our worst days, you know it's going to end, so you can go home and relax and take your shoes off.
Hello, Elaine. How are you?
Pretty good.
A lot of drivers just naturally have good attitudes. They know instinctively how and when to react in such a way that they make friends. And they are friends to the passengers, teachers, parents, whomever they contact. And while for sure they may occasionally have a bad day, they're a pleasure to be around and a pleasure to ride with. Which is precisely what Barbara Blackstone used to be. But right now, on this last day she'll ever drive a school bus, she's allowed her personal problems with family and Mrs. Crandall to sour her attitude and warp her judgment. But at least, she's right on time.
So now I'm on time and they're late. Figures.
And somewhere within Barbara's 12 billion brain cells, something happens in response to this final frustration, and she makes the last decision of her driving career.
Well, if they can't wait, neither can I.
Wait! Wait a minute!
If you can't wait, neither can I!
Oh my God! Oh my God!
That's about it for Barbara Blackstone and the surviving passengers. That is it for the children in the left rear seats. The newspapers won't miss the irony of the best driver of the year killing some of her passengers, though most of the blame will go to the drag racing kids.
Dr. Wilson.
But as she lies in a hospital bed, watching the IV drip and listening to the paging system, Barbara knows that in spite of all her experience, knowledge, and skill, the real fault for the crash was hers, because of the attitude factor.
Dr. Steiner, Dr. George Steiner. Surgery, please. Dr. Stewart, Dr. Russell Stewart, emergency room, please.